Yes, when I see purple.
I told her I was coming to this.
All right, seeing that it is 6:59, I'm going to go ahead and call us to order the best I can. I always butcher your last name. Let me,
Delorier.
Delorier, thank you. Miss Delorier, oh, let me see. Call to order with a reminder to please silence your electronic devices, and also a reminder that this meeting is video and audio recorded for our friends on the internet. Ms. Delorier, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Miss Rachel Kirkland.
Here.
Mr. Paul Alexander.
Here.
Miss Stacy Seiberling.
Here.
Dr. Shantae Jones.
Here.
Miss Ellen Sabodnik.
Here.
Mr. Miles Lanier.
Here.
Thank you very much. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstention, or, see no nay votes? Motion carries. All right. Consent?
Pledge.
Thank you.
Pledge.
Pledge.
Oh, I missed the Pledge of Allegiance. You're absolutely right. Excuse me. Mr. Lanier, since you've graced us with your presence, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I think now we're back on track.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second? Can I go ahead? All in favor? I'm sorry.
It's one of those nights.
Aye.
Been a long day.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for clarity, I took the last airport run today at 4 in the morning, so I've been up the rest of the time, so I apologize if it's a little rocky tonight. Whew. All right. Public hearing on fiscal year 24 superintendent's proposed budget. I understand we have some people signed up.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 3 people signed up for public
Fantastic.
comment.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and open the public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to allow comments directly related to the fiscal year 24 superintendent's proposed budget. Citizens wishing to speak must sign in. When called to the podium, please provide your name and Manassas Park City address, or if you are staff, your job title and work location is just fine. Each person is allotted 3 timed minutes to make comments. You will be, Ms. Delorier, will let you know when you have reached your 3 minutes. All right, who do we have up first?
Miss Cammie Minks.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Cammie Minks. I'm a speech pathologist with the district, and currently I am primarily based at Manassas Park Elementary School. Thank you for taking the time to hear from me. As I said before, I am a speech pathologist with our district. I started in Manassas Park about 1998. I had to move from the area in about 2000, but I was excited when we were stationed back in Northern Virginia several years later, and I was able to rejoin this district. I love working here, and I was eager to come back after experiencing other districts while I was away. I've always felt that Manassas Park was very dedicated to their students. Our size, which some may see as a disadvantage, has always allowed us to give the best individualized attention to our students. Next year, budget constraints have projected us to lose a speech pathology position. This will drastically impact the quality of therapy we can provide our students. Caseload size will go from an average of about 50 students to an average of 62 to start the school year. As caseloads rise, so does paperwork, meetings, evaluations, and planning needs. It's not just about putting more students on the schedule. Each student comes with lots of behind-the-scenes work. This paperwork is required and not optional, and yet it is often not thought about when budget talks are in motion. Because this paperwork is required, time must be made during the day for the paperwork and meetings, which takes away from available therapy time. As a result, therapy groups must be larger. When therapy groups are larger, the number of trials and practice each student can accomplish on their individual goals during the therapy session decreases. This translates directly into slower progress or no progress. Some students have greatly benefited from our being able to have individual therapies because of our reduced caseload size. Their behavior or attention needs require individualized sessions in order to make progress on their goals. With caseloads of 60 plus, there is simply not enough time during the working day to provide this best practice. As a result, progress for these students will be slow or plateau. Collaboration is often looked at as a gold standard, and it is very important for students to generalize their new skills outside the therapy room. It is not a luxury. It is important for successful student outcomes. This collaboration time is not reflected on IEP minutes. As caseloads rise, time must be put towards therapy, required paperwork, and meetings. Collaboration is often one of the first things to be cut as a result of caseload increases. This will impact student success on their goals and their education as a whole. Some will say, skip the meetings, but I can really only do that if the IEP team agrees to my absence. We are required members of the IEP team, and if a parent wants me at the meeting, I must be there.
Madam Chair, time is up.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Who's next?
Miss Sahara Hicks.
Hello, my name is Shara Hicks, and my address, I'm at East Carondelet Drive. Who am I? I am a parent of 3 students within the school district, one of which is in special education. I am a member of SEAC, that's the Special Education Advisory Team here in Manassas Park. And I'm also coming to you as a former school social worker in a Maryland school district. I'm here out of concern for the future of the special education services when I see what the current proposed budget states. Having worked in special education, I don't think that the day-to-day effects of the budget are apparent on paper, as was just stated by our previous public speaker. So there were 3 things that I wanted to talk about the day-to-day. The first part was the speech pathology, and I'm so glad you spoke on that because you're going to save me some of my 3 minutes. So I'm going to take out some of that, but I do want to just also state that the caseload, it's 62 as a caseload is insane in special education. It just does not work. Currently, they're at about 50, but that's always going to rise throughout the school year as more people are identified and as more need is seen. So I'm going to skip that. Thank you for speaking what you said. I want to talk about the special education chair at Cougar and also with how that affects the pre-K program. As you know, the special education chair was left in January, and so those roles and responsibilities were absorbed into another position. Having a special education chair at each school is imperative, particularly at the lower elementary. This is where we get our earliest intervention, our earliest identification, and where we can get in and help the students as much as possible. And looking at the budget, it seems that next year it will continue, whereas someone who has a different position will just also have the roles of the special education chair. I don't see how that works to benefit the students in the best way possible. The earlier we can get them services, the better it is moving forward when they get to middle school, high school. Also helps the parents. I fortunately come from a background of education in social work, in special education. So when I work with my child's special education team, I'm coming with some knowledge, but a lot of parents, they're just completely new to this process. And so getting them in as early as possible will help their student as well. And not having a dedicated chair to make sure that those things are happening, it just doesn't work to not have someone in that role. Currently, there are 3 ABA therapists. That's the Applied Behavioral Analyst therapists. Under them, there are 2 RBTs. That's the Registered Behavioral Technicians. These are people who are working day in and day out in the classrooms, one-on-one with the students, working with the teachers on behavioral management for their classes, behavioral management for their individual students, how to make the culture of their classroom work with their special education students.
Madam
which will
Chair,
look
time.
different. So thank you. I just would like the board to consider looking at the budget without excluding these very important positions.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Our final is Ms. Sarah DeSantis.
Okay, well, it warms my heart to know that most of the public speakers were advocating for special education, because that's what I'm here to do as well. My name is Sarah DeSantis, and I'm a special education teacher at Manassas Park Elementary School. This is my 6th year with Manassas Park, but my 7th year teaching overall. Looking at the budget, as you mentioned, with the ABA therapy and the BCBAs and the RBTs, it seems that EBCS is going to be on the list for unfunded. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. Unfunded. As a special education teacher, I've seen the benefits this company has had for not only our students, but also our staff as well. I think the assumption is that a lot of teachers automatically know how to deal with behaviors or what the best management is, but that's not the case in every classroom. And I know that, at least for my instructional assistants, they have benefited greatly from the services that that company provides. I hope that there's something that we can do. I mean, I'm kind of just echoing what was said before. I'm hoping that there's a way that we can work to either reconsider or that we can have some option to keep some form of behavior support in our schools, because it's desperately needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here for public comments?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Gone. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. I'd like to thank everyone for the comments. I also would like to, I know some of you ran out and probably had important ideas, so please feel free to email the board the entirety of your comments. Thank you. All right, moving on to ongoing.
Public hearing.
I'm sorry, back up. After the public hearing is superintendent spotlight.
Madam Chair, Dr. Grosser will share some exciting opportunities and great people within our community and our staff this evening. So, Dr. Grosser.
All right, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. This past month, we had an opportunity to appreciate many of our staff members around Manassas Park, and tonight we would like to spotlight some of those groups that are here joining us this evening. One of the groups that we celebrated this month were our school counselors. It was National School Counseling Week. Our school counselors work diligently in our schools to help our students reach their full potential. They're valued members of the academic team who work to provide tools for academic, personal, and emotional success for their students. School counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, talents, and utilize those factors to further their career awareness and development. School counselors help parents and families focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. Comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in schools. All you have to do in our schools is spend a few short minutes in the hallways to see our counselors in action. Whether it's in their office, in their classroom, in the cafeteria, the office, the bus loop, or sometimes even further away from the school than that, they go where they're needed, when they're needed. There aren't really enough words to express the importance of their work and the level of our appreciation for it. We have some of them pictured behind me, and I would like to welcome two of our school counselors who were able to make it tonight. A lot of them wanted to come, but they were balancing family and grad school and things like that. So I know that some of them were going to watch from home tonight to see their appreciation. But tonight I do want to welcome Cindy Watson from the high school and Natalie Teague from the high school as well. So thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Your turn tonight.
All right, earlier this month, we also recognized our SRO, School Resource Officer Appreciation Day. SROs are carefully selected, specifically trained sworn law enforcement officers assigned by an employing law enforcement agency to work with schools using community-oriented policing concepts. The SRO assignment is unique within the law enforcement profession. These officers fill a three-part role, serving as informal mentors or counselors, law educators, and law enforcement officers to support the students and communities they serve. They're valuable and essential members of the education community who deserve unwavering respect and support from the public in the pursuit of keeping schools and students safe. Most school divisions and law enforcement agencies throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia have entered into partnerships to ensure students have a safe place to learn and school personnel are safe at work. There are more than 800 exceptionally trained, dedicated men and women in law enforcement who serve as school resources in Virginia in elementary, middle, and high schools, providing support and encouragement, serving as role models, and law enforcement officers and educators. This year, we've enjoyed a wonderful partnership with our local police department, and we're thrilled that we have SROs in 3 of our 4 schools, hopefully all 4 schools, very soon. And tonight, we are joined by Sergeant Loving, who is the head of our SRO program, and we're joined by our middle school SRO, Officer Munoz, our Manassas Park Elementary SRO, Officer Reyes, and our Cougar Elementary SRO, Officer Albamona. Thank you, guys. Come on up. I have pictures of all of them. Sorry, I didn't show the other pictures.
That's so precious.
There we go. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, and 1 more. Thank you guys so much. All right, and finally tonight, it is the one time a year we turn the spotlight on you all. It is School Board Appreciation Month. The theme this year from VSBA is Rising to the Challenge, as we do every time we come together to do our work. School board members are elected to represent the interest of students, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders. School boards play a vital role in ensuring that students across the Commonwealth have access to a high-quality, rigorous education and are best positioned to uphold educational excellence in Virginia schools. School boards are the governing bodies responsible for the oversight, success, and effectiveness of school systems. Local school board members work with parents, businesses, education professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision that we want for our students. These decisions affect the present and future lives of children and set direction to prepare all students to be competitive in a local, state, national, and global 21st century knowledgeable economy. School Board Appreciation Month acknowledges the contributions, dedication, and service of Virginia's local school board members. And so this year, I decided to ask some of our staff members to give me some words that describe our school board members. Appropriate words that describe our school board members.
No.
And so I sent out a little Google form, and it was anonymous. I cannot tell you who these words came from, but we celebrate you all with a crossword puzzle that is unique to what your school staff members think about you. And you'll see how surprisingly accurate these are. So I pulled Rachel's out on the top here, and you can see dedicated, advocate, passionate, caring, and supportive. And if you know Rachel, they know Rachel. I think they were trying to make her cry, right? Isn't that always the goal? Maybe a little bit. So I have one for each of you. If you want to come on down and we can hold them up and take a picture. Ellen, yours is next. There you are. And your name is also included in there. Shantae. And then Paul. Paul, I didn't see Hunter in here at all, so I'm not sure who we asked, but.
Handsome.
And Stacy. Thank you. Welcome. All right, you guys have to come up and get in the picture this time. You can't avoid it.
So weird.
I also have your official certificate for you somewhere. That's my last of this. This is all. All right, ready? You're going to hold it out.
Do you want to use it? Are you okay?
All right, ready? 1, 2. All right, one more. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up with that? I noticed my star is at the top of the slide.
Because you're the tallest.
Yeah.
All right, which one? Okay, that. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our superintendent spotlight for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any comments from the board?
I do. I wanted to say thank you first to our counselors, because I know that you do so much. I mean, it's everything. It's filling the gaps. I mean, if there's a gap, you're there, whether it's working directly with our students or just they need somebody that's kind and caring and the students trust, they stick you in. It's, we would not be successful without you. So that's how I feel about our counselors. They've done a lot for my family personally, and I know that they do. It's not exclusive to my children or my students. It's all the students. So thank you very much. And our SROs, our students will remember you forever. When they graduate, they will remember you. They will remember the connections that you make with them every single day, and they are making them. So thank you very, very much for making those connections with our students. And I want to say thank you to the fellow school board members here. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I've really enjoyed my time so far.
I also wanted to say thank you to the counselors and the school resource officers. You guys are integral parts of the school community, and you really help support the students outside of the four walls of that classroom, and it can't be done without either of you. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
I normally don't pile on when people have already spoke, but I'm going to this stage.
Feel the pressure.
So, to the counselors, I can't thank you enough. Even going back to the pre-COVID, you know, my kids went to the counselors for emotional support during COVID. They went for today. I was emailing about my daughter's SAT prep, my son's schedule going into high school. So, I mean, you guys kind of, the number of hats you guys are wearing, when you think of a counselor, people don't realize all the things you guys are doing. So I can't thank you enough. The SROs, kind of to what Stacy was mentioning, I still remember my SROs from school. And so I come from a law enforcement family, so I have a soft spot I love having you guys in the buildings. I appreciate you. Sergeant Loving, you came to the volleyball games in the Pink Cruiser. You guys are at the Special Olympics. Like, the hours you guys put in and the impact you have on the kids is immeasurable, and I'm eternally grateful.
I'm not going to pile on either, but ditto to what my colleagues have said. You're very much appreciated. Things we see, things we don't see, we appreciate you. And thank you.
Since my counselors are in the audience today, I just want to say thank you all. Thank you both so much. And to the ones that aren't here, shout out to Ms. Fantoon and Ms. Harding and Ms. Johnson. You guys have really helped me get through high school, and I know you have done that for a lot of other students as well. To all the counselors that are not here tonight, thank you so much. I have spent a lot of time in the counselor's office for one reason or the other, but my school experience at Manassas Park would not have been the same without you. And to our school resource officers, thank you so much for working to build relationships with all of the students. Hopefully we get one at the high school soon. But I will forever remember Officer Brand. I believe he retired last year.
Yep.
But it's about building those relationships, and I'm grateful that you guys have all made that a priority working in each of the schools. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they left a single thing left except personal comments. I think there's so much tremendous value in having SROs in school in this time in the world, where we see continual threats to our public safety. But more than that, creating a culture of respect towards you and really educating students to your role in the community and help and the way that they grow working with you in the schools is something to see, and I have a deep appreciation for it. I can't say enough about guidance counselors. It's tremendous work that goes into it. It's more than just the high school piece with the getting people into college. It's the wraparound, and you were spread so thin doing your work from the littles on up, and I just appreciate all of the effort that goes into it. And to my fellow school board members, this is my 15th year in on the board, and I know what time it has taken from my life, but working with you never feels like a burden, and it's been an absolute gift getting to work with you, and to finally, we're going to include Miles in it, have Miles up here with us, just to give the insight from a variety of community perspectives. So I love that about our group. So thank you very much, and as always, Dr. Grosser and Dr. Saunders, thank you for bringing that to us. All right, moving on. Okay, we're on to regular public comments. Do we have anyone signed up for that?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to? All right. Moving on to ongoing. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Good night. Okay. Moving on to ongoing business. Manassas Park City Schools strategic planning. Ms. Calso.
Madam Chair, I'll ask Ms. Kelso to come up and get us started.
Fantastic.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm excited to join you here this evening with our outstanding team from Education Elements so that we can provide an update on the MPCS strategic planning process. We just spent a fantastic afternoon with our project and steering teams, having productive discussions around the community engagement data that has been collected, and have begun to identify themes that will really inform the design of our next strategic plan. And Dr. Jones and Miles were both participants today, so we enjoyed having them in the process as well. We will gather again tomorrow morning to continue the work. I'm joined here this evening by the Education Elements team. I'd like to take a minute to introduce them and ask them to come forward. We have Ms. Erica Godwin and Ms. Allie Weiss, and because they're here in person tonight, they've graciously agreed to give you all an update on the strategic plan process. So I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. So what we're going to do today is just kind of give you high-level overview about the work that we've been doing so far, as well as what's coming ahead. So we're going to provide you context about how we look at strategic planning, walk through their methodology and our process and how we go about doing it with Education Elements, and give you some updates in what we did today and tomorrow. Oh, arrows. There you go. My name is Erica Godwin. I currently live in Hyattsville, Maryland, but I am originally from Smithfield, Virginia. taught in Newport News Public Schools for 7 years, moved to Atlanta, Georgia for an admin role for a couple of years before transitioning to do strategic planning as well as personalized learning with Education Elements.
Thank you. I'm Allie Weiss. I am a senior design principal with Education Elements, and I lead strategic planning projects throughout the country. Just moved back to Indianapolis, Indiana, where I grew up, but was a resident of Fairfax County for many years and taught in Fairfax County as well. So very happy to be back here and support the work that happens in Northern Virginia.
Great. So with Education Elements, we have been around since 2010. We have worked with school districts and schools all across the country, as well as thinking about our different buckets of work that we are doing. We are focusing for this district strategic planning, but these are all of these service lines that we provide services for schools. Did you? Okay.
And one of the things that we also want to share as part of this, I'll take us back for a moment, is we have a kind of joke in Education Elements because our initials are EE, that we turn everything into that EE process. So you are all part of the family now with 2 E's. And one of the things that I think is really important to understand is that when you work with us, we really see that as a network of schools and leaders throughout the country. And so we bring the learning that we gain from working across the country to every project we do, and we learn a lot from you as well. I can speak into the mic as well. Yes. So one of the things we wanted to frame was what we traditionally see in strategic planning and how we differ, and the role that you all play in that. So traditionally when strategic planning is done, it is done behind closed doors. It's a small group of people, often district leaders or division leaders, who make decisions for the community. And we see that as inaccessible. We see that as often creating one and done types of strategic plans that might look pretty, but they sit on shelves and aren't really referenced or used. They become pretty inactionable as well, and are often irrelevant, especially to needs to adapt. And COVID, I think, is a great reminder of all of the best laid plans that we had to shift. And so that's why we think about responsive planning. What you'll see is kind of the general structures of strategic plans, but over the course of the process of designing the strategic plan for Manassas Park City Schools, you'll see that it's really based on what we've learned from the community. That starts with the community engagement activities, so the survey that was available to everyone in the community, all of the constituent groups, as well as the focus groups that we've led and that were led internally. That helps us to understand the experiences and perceptions of those who are students, staff, family members, leaders, and teachers in the division. And it helps us to really understand what it is that we need to build to imagine the best possible next 3 to 5 years and into the future, and really design based on around what we want to be true for students and staff within the division. This is what that timeline kind of looks like in order to build. So you'll see that today was that first day of foundations. We've worked for many months now with the project team to develop clear plans for how we listen to the community and how we engage in the process. In January and February, we led the focus groups and had the public survey. And then today, and Erica will talk to that more, but today we started down that path of really understanding what do we want to be at the core of our strategic plan. And tomorrow is a day full of visioning, where we start to think about the mission, vision, and values of the division. As we get to March through May, that's when we get to design. So knowing what we learned from the community, what their needs are, what their goals are, we'll start to move through a process where we co-design. We really facilitate that, but the community designs what the initiatives are and the strategy is behind the strategic plan, followed by the launch. So that's when it will become a public-facing document that we will build a campaign around so that all members of the community see themselves and understand their role in implementing the strategic plan. We have 3 main teams who are currently working on designing the strategic plan. That first is the project team. And that is many members kind of cabinet that you see here who are working with us on a biweekly basis to make sure that we've got the constituents throughout the community at the table listening and making sure that we're clear on how we design the process. Today, we invited the steering team to the first in-person session. So we have people who represent all of the community groups in Manassas Park to take part in the data review and to start designing the strategic plan. And then as we move into design, we open up that team further for planning teams. We'll have more student representation. We'll have additional parent representation and community members as part of that.
So going back over like kind of how we look at our work. So the first phase of the work, when we were meeting together with the project team and then meeting with the steering team to kick off this work, this is between September and December, like Ali named. We did virtual kickoffs with the project team first to go over what is the overall purpose of this project, how is it going to look, and how do we need to structure our teams. And then we were able to connect with the steering team to go over very similar things like what is the overall project of this work, the roles themselves, and then making sure that we could go ahead and start the planning process for community engagement. And like Ali shared, we just wrapped up our community engagement activities. So we have had over 1,900 constituents complete the community survey. We had 15 hours of conversations with community members through 13 focus groups with parents, teachers, community members, and district personnel. In those 13 groups, we had 56 constituents from the community participate in the focus groups. And then we also had one joint session between school board and city council. So we are kind of halfway through foundations. We did our first in-person workshop today with the steering team, where we had an opportunity to look at the data from the surveys as well as the focus groups to figure out what are some overall trends that they're seeing in the work. And those conversations are still going to continue into tomorrow, where we're going to look at your current state of the mission, vision, and values that were already established, but just going through to see how can we make connections to the trends that we're finding, their own experiences and perspectives based on their roles within the district, and start thinking about what are going to be the focus areas and the language that we're going to start using to develop the plan. Tomorrow, we're going to start off in the morning, so hopefully they come back excited and to continue that thinking process. All right, this is an opportunity if you have any questions.
I have one, and I think it might be for a lot from some of us. Do we have the breakdown of those community survey responses? So like community members versus staff members versus students. I think as a board, we'd just be curious to see who's responding and who's actually engaging with the survey.
We can pull that, right? Yeah, we can pull that for you. Provide that.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? All right. I know many of us have engaged with the work or are about to, so we're looking forward to continuing to work with you and to see what the next steps are and what the end product is as well. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Updates on superintendent's proposed budget.
Madam Chair, Mr. Lyon, Executive Director of Finance, will provide a brief update status.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This evening, the updates I have to provide, the General Assembly did not address FY24 funding, any changes in FY24 funding. Last week, it's the same as it was when I presented the proposed budget. They overprojected our funding by nearly $500,000, which then caused us to have to make several changes before proposing the last budget. Right now, there's no indication that there will be any changes or hold harmless funds for that $500,000, but we won't know until June, until the budget absolutely has to be done by the General Assembly for FY24. We did get our insurance rates for next year in last week, and they are up. I'm working to reduce the impact on employees by moving some things around in the budget, and I will have an update on those final figures for you at the next board meeting. I did receive a question, and several people touched on it tonight, about the EBCS contract. It has been paid with ESSER funds, and ESSER funds are coming to an end. And unfortunately, we were not able to fund it in the budget, and that's why it's on the unfunded list of items. And that concludes my updates on the budget. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? I'm curious with the ESSER funds and the maintenance of effort, how does that shake out? I mean, I'm familiar with the maintenance of effort under IDEA, but you know, some of the comments tonight highlighted that the SPED department will be feeling effects or potentially feeling effects from this new budget. How do those things wrap around? If you don't have an answer right now, that's fine, but I think it's something that we might want to hear a little more about.
Sure. I have to submit an estimate of MOE to the board, or to the State Board of Education. And right now, we are within those thresholds. I would have to take a specific look to see the exact impact on not having EBCS in there. But when I calculated it out, we were still within the thresholds.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
How much longer is the Google Doc for questions?
It's open.
I know. I put a bunch on there today, but I was
Okay.
just curious how long that was going to be open for questions.
Until we approve the budget.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to new business, policy GMP professionalism.
Madam Chair, Ms. Halstead, Executive Director of Human Resources, will present the first reading of a local policy for professionalism, and so I'll turn it over to Ms. Halstead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I am going to go over professional conduct policy GMP. So with everything we do, it aligns with our strategic goals. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So the purpose of policy G-MP, professional conduct, is to define the expectations. Manassas Park City Schools School Board expect all staff as public employees to recognize that they are in a position of public trust and are held in the highest standard of professional conduct. So there will be 5 areas that I will touch on and go into details. This policy is going to cover expectations of professionalism, commitment to equality treatment, recognition of appropriate employees, student boundaries, duty to report, and protected speech. So expected professionalism, Employees are expected to conduct themselves professionally, model moral, ethical, legal, and respectful behavior, both inside and outside of the workplace. B, the commitment to equitable treatment. The Manassas Park City Schools Board is committed to an equitable and inclusive work and educational environment for all employees and students. So this is going to cover all the discriminations of harassments based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender, identity, sexual orientation, age, marital status, and I should say all the protective classes that is under prohibited by law will not be tolerated. C, recognition of appropriate employee-student boundaries. Employees are expected to establish and maintain appropriate physical, social, and emotional boundaries with students. D is going to cover the duty to report. Employees and students who feel that they have been subjected to this type of conduct or have been violated in this policy are expected to report these concerns. And E, protected speech. The school board recognizes an employee's right to engage in protective speech and their right to a private life outside of their work responsibilities. However, employees should not poll students to determine their voting or their family's voting issues or try to indoctrinate students with political or social philosophies. And these regulations, actually the policy G-E-MP is kind of highlighted in some of these policies, but we thought it would be great to have a professional conduct policy that will stand alone, and we could actually reference this policy. And the next meeting will be for you guys to vote on this. It's going to be on March 27th, the next board meeting.
Okay. Questions from the board? Thank you. Questions from the board?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I would encourage you before the second reading, if you have additional questions, to go ahead and shoot them to Ms. Halstead and Dr. Saunders.
Of course.
Yes.
So if this is the overview, when will we, if we
You
get the
should-
full thing to review for voting purposes?
You should have the full one
Oh,
in your document.
Oh, there we go. It was under executive content.
Yes.
There we go.
So it'll be for you to review, and
Thank you.
then we'll bring it to vote on March 27th.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to upcoming meetings. There was a point of clarification from one board member. We have listed regular school board meeting Monday, March 13th, but it's in the conference room. Should that be a work session? No, it's a meeting.
We just need to change. We will need to change the location.
You'll need to change the location to here, so it's a
here.
regular meeting.
Correct.
Okay. And then the next regular school board meeting, another regular school board meeting, actually, Monday, March 27th, 6:59 p.m. Board member comments?
None for me.
No. Oh, Mr. Lanier?
Well, I just want to say I'm very happy to be back. Basketball season's over, so you'll see a lot more of me. Just reiterating what I said, thank you to all the school counselors, all the SROs. Thank you to all the teachers and parents that made comments today. And also, just an update on one of the biggest things that's going on at the high school. I know our choir and bands are getting ready for district choir and district band assessments. Those are super important for our grades and to make sure that our arts departments are basically maintaining their standards of excellence. And my choir will be performing. We do have a concert on March 8th, so if you guys are able to come out to that, I highly recommend that you do. And yeah, please please be on the lookout for more events at the high school and at the elementary school levels. I know MPE is doing a learning carnival that same week on Thursday, March 9th. So if you can make your way out to that, that would be great as well. I will also be there volunteering. But in the end, I just am really reiterating the fact that the students need to see as many different people as possible. So please, when there is an event, please try and get there. Please try and make sure that the students feel seen, they feel heard. That's my job here, but that's also one of the important things that a school board member should do is make sure that they are seen by the community. And yeah, I'm very happy to be back, so thank you all for having me.
Thank you very much. All right, you did have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with those that came tonight to speak on the budget, your comments were heard.
I wanted to add something. I just wanted to also shout out and highlight, I know we do the superintendent spotlight, but I wanted to highlight our superintendent. I actually joined the lasagna dinner for the drug awareness. And I just wanted to say it was great. The lasagna was delicious. The cafeteria staff made it, and I raved about it. I wish I could bring some home for my family. So I just wanted to shout out for all the great work that you're doing. So thank you so much. It was a great program. And I learned a lot.
All right. And again, thank you to everyone who came tonight. I'm always encouraged to see people come out and speak on anything. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I don't think there's any opposition, so the motion carries.